Hello everyone, and welcome to Tabletop Obscura presents, well, a Fallout the role-playing game. Well, at least a quick start guide for it. How are we all tonight? I hope we're doing well. How's my sound going, particularly the mic? Because NVIDIA broadcast is becoming increasingly erratic. Do I sound fine? It is going, but do I sound fine? Because the video broadcast, I've had to disable it because it's just not outputting. It's kind of terrible at the moment. This 2.0 release has just been messed up the entire way. A sound as obscure as usual. Beautiful. Sounds fine. That's all I need. That's good enough. But yeah, I don't know what's going on, if it's a me problem, but everything was going fine until they pushed this 2.0 release on the NVIDIA broadcast, and ever since then it's just been messed up. It kind of just sucks. But tonight we are going to be talking about Fallout the role-playing game. This is one that I've really wanted to cover for a very long time because I do love the Fallout series. Like, I've loved it since Fallout 1 and 2 back on PC and the way back when. I remember, I have fond memories of my childhood watching my eldest brother, play Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 because I was too young to play it. And having it revised in like Fallout 3 and then beyond, and I'm just glad the IP didn't die. Because I really like it, and I really enjoy it. But this is the quick start guide. The first I played was a demo for Fallout Tactics. Yeah, the Fallout Tactics demo did get around. I think it was in like the old PC Gamer magazines as well. So it was just always there. Ah, Deaton's not glowing. Give me a second. All right, there we go. Hey, buddy. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. That's much better. I've never played much of Fallout Tactics, I must admit, though. I'm actually tempted to find a Let's Play of it and just watch someone else play through it while I get some work done. But I mean, so one of the things I really enjoyed, particularly about Fallout 4, is how moddable and customizable it is. It's pretty much just multi-character F1, F2. Yeah, I've been told that, and I mean, that's fine. But one of the things I like about Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 and New Vegas is how moddable they are. And one of the things I really want out of the role-playing game is a similar experience where it's pretty easy to mod. Like, if I want to add extra firearms or do some customizations and stuff like that, I want to see if I can do that kind of thing. I'm not sure if we'll get that with the quick start, but I do actually have the core book on the bookshelf behind me. It's just I kind of wanted to go for the quick start because we did the quick start for Wilderfeast and that was a lot of fun. So let's do the quick start. And of course, Vol 111. Now, also, does anyone know how to pronounce that? Is it Modifius? I think it's Modifius. I'm not 100% sure, but yes? Okay, cool. Because after what happened with the waifu handbook, I'm trying to get my pronunciations a lot better. Or at least trying to. But, contents. Welcome to the Wasteland, so we're going to get a little bit of primer on the world. Then we're going to get the core rules, how to run combat, and we'll see wherever we get into the adventure tonight. Because as much as I do want to run Fallout in the future, I'm probably going to be running more of a proper campaign, or I'll just write up a proper adventure for it. as opposed to running the pre-build, I guess. But already, I mean, look at that artwork. Like, I love everything this guy's got going on. He looks like a rough and tumble. He looks like a rough and tumble ranger, but this guy looks like he's straight out of the wasteland. And I can dig that. The vibe is just perfect. Introduction. Welcome to the wasteland. War. War never changes. The United States of America is no more. It was destroyed when the world's nuclear warheads were launched. The ensuing apocalypse brought an end to both the Great War and the civilized world. In its place exists the wasteland, an irradiated landscape pockmarked by ruined cities, decaying civilizations, and pockets of desperate survivors. It is inhabited by a variety of mutated creatures, horrific beasts, and undying ghouls. The radiation from the detonation spread quickly. Everything that wasn't killed immediately was irradiated, and most of the country's diverse plant and animal life was wiped out. Survivors work to reclaim what little they can and salvage what they cannot rebuild. Civilization is starting to take root again, and certain areas of the country have reached a level of stability that might even be called comfortable, at least for the rich and powerful. Disparate factions have begun to split off as these communities have grown. Each faction looks to make its own way, and some are far more dangerous than others. By far, the most dangerous are the raiders. They place no value on any human life but their own. Yet civilization has begun to flourish despite the opposition. Was that a camera duct tape to his face? No. I think it's just a weird gas mask. But I'm pretty sure that's a reference to Fallout New Vegas. Pretty sure. Pick a job that's special to you. Educators, public safety worker, technicians and mechanics, marketing specialists, building and construction design workers, pest control professionals, and healthcare professionals. Covega, there we go. I figured it was a reference to something. But no, look at this art. Like, I kind of really love this. Like, detailed art is great and all, but for something like this, especially if you're going for like a post-apocalyptic vibe or something like that, the kind of lack of defined lines, the kind of paint, you know, everything was painted by hand vibe for the whole thing, it just makes it so good. Very sun bleach colors, yeah. Like, it really sells it. Trade, economy, and even government have begun in some areas of the wasteland. Each community adapts or adjusts its own governmental system according to its needs. Merchants travel protected routes, trading at cities across the wasteland. The merchants have created a new currency in the form of bottle caps, also known as caps. Life in the wasteland is harsh, the sun beats down hard, and the radiation is intense. Clean water and food are rarities. Most survivors have been forced to adapt to dirty water and irradiated food. Surviving alone is difficult at best, but living in a community with its own struggles. Now, as for what's in the Quickstart, this Quickstart contains a how to play section, pre-generated characters, and machine frequency, a starter adventure. It includes all the information needed to start playing in the Wasteland. Now, I'm particularly looking to see how quickly they explain how the game actually works. Because that was one of the things that was a little bit annoying with the Wilderfeast Quickstart. It actually took them a little while to explain how the basic mechanic of the whole thing worked. I'm hoping we're not waiting for most of the way through the book before that happens. Welcome to the Commonwealth. The default setting for Fallout, the role-playing game, is the Commonwealth. This is the same setting as the Fallout 4 video game, Many of the locations, characters, and aspects of the Commonwealth in this book are presented from a start of game perspective. This means that they are a blank slate without any impact from the in-video game character choices. Damn! Some exceptions are made, and often this is noted in the text if a place or character is dependent on another event happening. The setting is presented in this way so that you have the freedom to explore and craft your own stories and quests in any way you desire. Game masters who are familiar with the Fallout setting may wish to run games in other time periods, or one of the other wastelands seen throughout the Fallout series. Well, see, I like the Commonwealth, and if they're going from start of game, well, see, Fallout 4, you start the game in the vault. So are they suggesting we start as vault dwellers, or just that the vault dweller has had no impact on the land so far? Additionally, does this mean we're going to be dealing with, like, the Institute? Well, machine frequency would suggest it. I think it means most the state of the world. Yeah, it just... Like, how big are the Minutemen going to be, for instance? It gives me a lot of questions. I'm way too familiar with that game. You'll need a few things to begin your journey across the wasteland. Once you've assembled everything listed here, you can begin. Players and a game master. You will need a few players. We recommend 3 to 5 and 1 game master. Each player picks a character, and together they form a group that travels together across the nuclear waste. The game master takes on the role of running the game. They play all the other characters, set the challenges the players face, shape the plot of the campaign, and adjudicate the rules. I know this is the quick start. Likely ban invader. I think you mean someone who's about to be banned. But I know this is a quick start, but I would like a little bit of comedy from it. Like, a lot of the things in Fallout is kind of suggested to be a little bit satirical, a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So, you know, making a joke about having to kidnap the game master to run it for you. I wouldn't mind something like that. But I get that they're trying for a less comedic vibe with this. Character sheet. Each player needs to choose one pre-generated character from those included in the quick start. Actually, let's... because I do have access to those as well. So, Augusta, Bailey, Big Smiles, okay. They've actually gone into a lot of details for these biographies as well. And there's a fair few of them. We've got 6 pre-generated characters people can choose from. Oh, we have a super mutant. Okay, cool. Alright. The GM will need to read through the quick start and the adventure first so they know what the players will be coming up against. Dice! Fallout the role-playing game uses 2 types of dice, which can be easily found online or in gaming stores. The first is a 20-sided die, called a D20, and the second is a regular 6-sided die called a D6. Ideally, you want at least 2 D20s per person. If your dice supplies are limited, the group can make do with sharing a set of D20s. You'll never need to roll more than 5 D20s at once. 5! Is this a dice pool system? You will also need at least 4 D6s. When these dice are used in the game, they are called combat dice and abbreviated to the Fallout Boy throughout this book. We recommend using the custom D6 created for Fallout the role-playing game, which can be bought from mofidius.net. The symbols featured on the die faces have various meanings, which are explained later and make for easier reading of results. If you don't have the custom dice, you can use normal D6s with numerical faces and reference the table on page 23 for the results. I'm never a fan when they do that. Like, we're going to use custom dice because we want you to buy our dice. But the fact that they do provide a table, it means it's fine. Tokens, chips, or caps. You will also need some counters to keep track of action points. You can use poker chips, beads, or other tokens to represent these. You can even use caps available from Mephidius.net to represent action points if you want to go all in on the Fallout theme. Just print off the images and glue them on. Yeah, something like that. Like, it also depends on how complicated the table is. I don't think it's going to be that complicated, really. I've seen it before, and it's just fine. In systems where they've used custom dice before, I've just printed out the table and just had it at the table for people to quickly reference. And it usually takes about a session for people to get used to it anyway. And to be clear, I'm probably going to run this on Foundry, and it's just going to have it built into the system anyway. If you don't have any tokens to hand, you can track action points on a piece of paper. While this makes it a little harder to visualize, providing you have one player at the table keeping track of the player's action points, and the Game Master keeps track of their own. This method also works just as well. Yeah, look, I have campaign coins that I would just hand out to people, so that's easy done. But similar to what G-Wizard suggested for the D6s, you could just print out your own. Like a trip to Officeworks will handle that one. Paper and pencils. Lastly, you're going to want to have some spare paper and some pencils. Not only will you want to fill in your character sheet, but you'll want to record notes during your game sessions. You may discover information from the Game Master about a character or place, or want to note down things about your quests as they happen. Some players use spare paper and keep this with their character sheets. Other players may find using digital note-taking easier, or use a journal or notebook specifically for their game. I do think it's interesting. Like 10 years ago, maybe more, you wouldn't see mentions of digital note-taking whatsoever. And there was kind of a bit of a no-no about even mentioning the fact that you use your computer to take notes. They bring a laptop to the table. They're just gaming on the laptop. They're not paying attention at all. Oh man, is that a full page splash screen? Oh man, look at that. Like, can we get that in game? Is that an option? Like, I'm pretty sure that's a vault suit with a environmental pack. Because that doesn't look like the rat suits you get in the game. And I think that's a patched up... That looks like a flamethrower there. I'm pretty sure that's either a patched up assault gun or maybe a rocket launcher? I'm not sure. But our friend here has obviously heard some ghouls kind of moving about in the ruins and is getting ready for them. The core rules. Tabletop role-playing. When you play a tabletop role-playing game, your game master, also called the GM, and fellow players are asking you to share your own story of exploring the post-nuclear wasteland, where mutated monsters lie in wait around every corner, and fellow survivors harbor a deep suspicion of others. As a group, you will travel ruined highways and ramshackle towns, completing quests and building settlements by describing what your character does as an improvised story. When you want to accomplish something in the story, you'll use the game rules to resolve whether you succeed or fail at your task. I wonder if they actually do have settlement building rules. I'm intensely curious. Because something I always have wanted to tinker with more has been settlement building rules in a tabletop role-playing game. Like, not to the degree of a kingdom, because I've done that before. I mean, just like a small town, or just a keep or a castle or something like that. I really dig mechanics that allow you to do that. But unfortunately, a lot that I've seen tend to overcomplicate it a little bit too much. So I'm hoping they have something that's pretty smooth to use. It's just fun. The Game Master. The Game Master is another player at the table with different responsibilities to everyone else. They run the game, role-playing as non-player characters and creatures, asking for skill tests, interpreting the results, and describing what happens as you explore the wasteland. It's their job to introduce the story, respond to your character's actions, and decide how non-player characters respond. But they use these core rules as well when taking actions with the NPCs. I do like that they specify that the Game Master is another player. Just as a more personal thing, I do hate when the Game Master kind of gets othered. Like, you have, as a Game Master, you have different responsibilities, like it says there, but you're still a player at the table. You're still there to enjoy yourself. And if as the Game Master you're not enjoying yourself and you don't feel like the player, then that's just a bad experience. In any situation where your character's success is in doubt, their failure is interesting, or they are at risk, you need to attempt a skill test. A skill test is a moment in the game where the rules are used to resolve a situation or conflict. But once that's figured out, the Game Master continues narrating the scene based on your actions and might describe how their non-player characters and creatures react. This mode of play is freeform, where each player can act freely in no particular order, and fictional time passes as it makes sense to the actions your group attempts. When you begin fighting, play is divided up into rounds and turns, with each player taking a turn, in each round representing a short period of time in which every character gets to act. Pretty stock standard. Here we go. Page 9. Add up your attribute and skill combination, check the difficulty. Want to buy D20s using action points? Okay. Roll the dice, count your successes. Did you get enough compared to the difficulty? Any extra successes become action points to spend or save. So you kind of buy them back. All right. A skill test is a method of resolving an action you want your character to attempt. You roll some dice and the results tell you whether you succeeded, failed, or complicated the situation. When the Game Master asks you to attempt a test, they're asking you to check your character's attributes. Roll a pool of 2 to 5 20-sided dice, also called d20s, presented as xd20, where x is the number of d20s you roll, and get more successes than the Game Master needs for you to pass the test. So it's based on multiple d20s? So where did the d6s come in? Okay, well, they'll be answered, I'm sure. Rolling the dice. Choose attribute plus skill. The Game Master chooses which attribute and skill from your character sheet are appropriate for your test. Add together the attribute and skill chosen. This is your target number for each d20. You can suggest which attribute and skill might apply, but the GM has the final say. Your target number is the number each d20 must roll equal or under to generate one success. Oh, it's a roll under system? Oh no. The Game Master chooses which attribute and skill from your character sheet are appropriate for test. Add together the attribute and skill chosen. Oh, okay. I get it. So, for instance, let's go back to our pre-gen characters. We have athletics, all that other stuff. So if I asked for a endurance and athletics skill check, 5 plus 1 would equal 6 for the target. And you have to roll 6 or lower on a d20 to succeed. But it's a dice pool. Set the difficulty. The Game Master sets the difficulty for the test, normally between 1 and 5. The difficulty is the number of successes you must generate with your d20s to pass. Okay. Assemble your dice pool. You start with 2 d20s, but you can buy up to 3 more d20s by spending action points. Okay. Well, 1 to 5 for the difficulty. That's... Okay, so I get it. So the difficulty is the amount of successes needed. All right. Roll the dice pool. Assemble your dice pool. We've been through that. Check for successes. Each d20 that rolls equal to or less than your target number scores 1 success. Any d20 that rolls a 1 is a critical success, which is... Oh, ones are critical successes. Okay. Each d20 that rolls a 20 generates a complication. See page 11. So we'll get there in a minute. Check successes against the difficulty. If the number of successes you scored equals or beats the difficulty of the test, then you have passed. If the number of successes scored is less than the difficulty, you have failed. Okay. Equals or beats. Okay, so it's meets beats. And that seems to be pretty consistent across the board. I'm okay with that. Get the result. The Game Master describes the outcome, and if the test was successful, you can spend action points to improve the result further. After that, the GM introduces any complications. Example. Nate needs to find out if Codsworth is okay, as he's been on his own for 200 years. His test is difficulty 1, and he must use charisma and speech. 7 plus 2 equals 9. So 9 is the difficulty threshold, I guess? No, it's the number they need to succeed. Nate's player rolls 2d20, checking the results separately, and rolls a 5 and a 19. Because the 5 is equal or below Nate's target number, he scores 1 success and passes the test. Codsworth describes how hard it's been to try and keep the house clean for 2 centuries. Target number. When your Game Master asks for a skill test, you agree to an attribute and skill combination from your character sheet that best applies to the action you're trying to achieve. That target number the target number made by adding your chosen attribute and skill together gives you the number each d20 must roll equal to or under. If it does, then you generate 1 success. How do you polish rust? Poor Codsworth. Lots of glitter. All of the glitter. Successes and difficulty. The number of successes you need to generate with your d20s to pass a skill test is called the difficulty. Only needing 1 success describes a routine task, while needing 5 successes reflects a difficult task that can only be completed with guts and determination. Well, really, with a blowtorch. Well, there's many ways to clean rust. And you can do so many wonderful things with rust. Each d20 that rolls equal to or under the target number generates 1 success. However, a d20 can generate 2 successes by rolling a critical success. For example, if you had a target number of 10, made up of an attribute and skill combination of 8 plus 2, each d20 that rolled 2 to 10 would generate 1 success, while any d20s that rolled 1 would generate 2 successes. We have a difficulty table to give a good idea of how much successes and difficulty was required. 0, gathering rumors around a settlement, searching a room in an abandoned building. Well, that's actually interesting, because it basically suggests that doing regular searches for scavenging and stuff is just a regular routine task. 1, shooting a target at close range, picking a simple lock. Difficulty 2, breaking down a reinforced door, treating an injury. Difficulty 3, identifying an unknown poison, deactivating a robot from behind. Difficulty 4, hacking a complex computer, disarming a landmine. And difficulty 5, convincing an enemy to stand down, shooting a target at long range on a stormy night. I know some people who play snipers who would take that bet. Total up the number of successes and compare them against difficulty. They've done a good job of, like, I'm kind of speeding through this because I'm streaming this, but they've done a good job of going through it over and over again so it's clear and people know how it's supposed to go. Critical successes. Whenever you attempt to test any d20 that rolls a 1 is a critical success. Each critical success you roll generates 2 successes. Because this is the 3rd time they've mentioned the critical success thing. But they're just making sure that it's all in its separate sections, so it's really easy to find. I appreciate that, especially in a quick start. Default attribute and skill. The skill list on your character sheet lists a default attribute associated with each skill. Some tests may prescribe a different attribute and skill combination to work out your target number. By the GM's discretion, you can suggest a different combination. You might use intelligence and small guns to identify the make of a weapon, or strength plus medicine to pop a dislocated shoulder back into place. You could always suggest alternative attribute plus skill combinations for your target number, but your GM has the final say. Well, Let's look at the skills again. What do we have? Athletics, spotter, big guns, energy weapons, explosives, lockpick, medicine, melee weapons, pilot, repair, science, small guns, sneak, speech, survival, throwing, and unarmed. I mean, that's pretty standard. What's the tag mean, though? I'm pretty sure we're going to get into that in a little bit. But a 3 seems about right. So if you're doing intelligence... Okay, well... You wouldn't want to go below 4 for anything. Tag means it has a bonus, probably. I think so as well. I am kind of wondering, are they going to have piecemeal armor as well? Because damage resistance here. Anyway. Complications! When attempting a test, each d20 that rolls a 20 causes a complication. A new detail in the scene that makes things more difficult that comes into effect once the test has been resolved. A complication could introduce a new problem, like a gun jamming or breaking a lockpick, or it could make specific skill tests more difficult in future. Like insulting merchants, so charisma plus barter tests with him in future are increased by a difficulty of by 1. Locational stats does imply locational armor. Yeah, I'm thinking... We'll probably see in the combat section, but they probably will have stuff regarding cold shots, etc. If it does have cold shots, I'm interested to see how they work them. Because in my experience, whenever a system has had a strong emphasis on cold shot rules, they haven't been great. If you and the game master can't come up with a complication for you in the scene you're in, the GM can instead gain 1 action point to use for their non-player characters and creatures later. That's easy. I like that, actually. If no one comes up with anything, you can just be like, GM, you get an action point. It's like, okay. Example, McCready has a mysterious disease, and his players rolled a complication on his medicine test to try and recover a little to keep moving north. The GM can't think of a complication and asks the group, do you have any ideas? McCready's player suggests he could get a fever, and the GM takes the suggestion and uses it. Your head pounds and intelligence test difficulties are increased by 1 until you get it healed. So the main thing is just to increase the difficulty on things. Well, that's the main use of a complication. Dice pool. Normally you roll 2 d20s and check the results individually against your target number and count up the number of successes you generate. But you can buy more dice to roll. With action points, you can buy up to 3 more d20s to roll on tests. This means you can roll a total pool of 5 d20 at any one time. Action points are covered on page 14. Example. Kate is facing a difficulty 3 test to steal some bottle caps from right under her captor's noses. And with 3 action points in the group pool... Action points are grouped? Okay. She opts to purchase 2 more d20s using all 3 AP in the pool. Her player will now roll 4 d20, improving the odds of generating the 3 successes they need. I'm guessing there's a bunch of things that you can use your action points for. I'm kind of interested to see how you generate them, though. Because I know that critical successes generate them, but... Difficulty 0 tests. Some tests had maybe difficulty 0, or your character's perks or gear may reduce the test difficulty to 0. If a test is difficulty 0, you don't need to roll. Your action is automatically successful with no risk of complications. However, because no roll is made, you don't generate any action points either. At your GM's discretion, you can still choose to roll the dice against a difficulty of 0. Because 0 successes are required, every success becomes an action point, but you can still suffer complications by rolling a d20 as normal. This sort of difficulty 0 test is useful if it's important to see how successful your character is when there's no chance of failure. I do like that they put that caveat in. Because sometimes I will get players who roll a check. Not because I think they're going to fail, just because I want to see how well they do. I want to see how good they achieve the thing that they're trying to do. Particularly, I like to use that in role-playing situations. Like, the player will talk to the NPC and will have a convincing argument, or will do very well in the role-playing. And it's like, they're not going to fail this. I want them to roll not to see whether their very eloquent conversation with this person passes or fails, but just to see how much information they can gain from it. Or how much of a friend. Opposed tests. Sometimes you'll face situations that are not difficult because of the task itself, but because of an opposing force trying to prevent your success. In these cases, you and the opposing player, normally the GM, will both roll a dice pool and compare results to see who wins. When another character opposes you in a test, their player rolls their d20 dice pool after buying any extra d20s. And the number of successes they generate becomes the difficulty of your test. Okay. So, aggressor okay. So, defender sets the barrier of difficulty. And then the aggressor has to... That makes sense. Oh, I actually like that a lot. That's a good way to handle opposed roll. I do like that. Then you attempt your test with your opponent's number of successes as your difficulty. If you equal or beat your opponent's number of successes, you win the opposed test, and any extra successes become action points. If you do not generate enough successes to meet the difficulty, you fail and your opponent can generate AP. Example: Paladin dances roasted alive in the bottom of a rocket ship. Paladin dances grappling a Deathclaw, holding it back from advancing on his squad. The GM decides this is an opposed test and rolls a test for the Deathclaw. Rolling 2d20, the GM scores 3 successes, meaning Dance's test will be difficulty 3. Dance has a target number of 8, so his player decides to buy 2 more d20s with the action points in the pool, to ensure he gets the successes he needs and rolls the pool of 4 d20s. They roll a 5, 6, and 18, which generates 4 successes. Dance holds his ground and banks 1 AP for the extra success. Had he rolled a 10 instead of a 1, he would have failed by 1 success instead, and the GM would have gained 1 AP for the Deathclaw. Okay, so the difference between the two. Gotcha. Assistance. Difficult tasks are often completed for teamwork. When someone else is attempting a test, you can assist them if your GM allows it. Describe how you are helping and decide with the GM which attribute plus skill combination you're using. It doesn't have to be the same combination as the person you're helping. Then roll 1d20 and add any successes you generate to theirs, providing they score at least 1 success of their own. If they didn't generate any successes, then you can't add your successes to the total. Okay, so it's just a single d20 roll. I can get behind that. Action points in opposed tests. In an opposed test, the opposing character spends AP first and then rolls. The active character then may spend AP to add dice to their pool if they wish and roll. If 2 player characters are making an opposed test, then both players must generate AP for the GM in order to buy additional d20s. The group pool is for team players. When you succeed in an opposed test, you generate action points by comparing your result to your opponent's. When you're rolling against an established difficulty, any excess successes generate AP as normal. When you are the one to roll first, establishing a difficulty for your opponent, you generate 1 AP for each success less than your number of successes. Okay. That's something I'm going to have to read for a couple of times just to wrap my head around it properly. But pretty much the difference is any successes in excess generate action points. So it's possible to spend action points on a roll and then get those refunded immediately. Meaning the action pool is kind of variable and very nebulous at all times. Increased difficulties in opposed tests. In an ordinary opposed test, it's assumed the only real source of difficulty is the other character. However, if something increases the difficulty of your test, then your opponent adds that increase to their successes total instead. something would decrease the difficulty of your test, then your opponent reduces their total successes by that amount instead. So if your opponent is trying to sneak up on you and it's dark, increasing the difficulty of your perception plus survival test by 1, then your opponent adds +1 success to their total instead, which could potentially mean they generate more action points. All right. You can't buy additional d20s if you are assisting. You can only roll one d20, but your d20 doesn't count towards the limit of 5 that the player attempting the test can roll in their dice pool. So theoretically, a player doing a test can buy up to the 5 d20s, and then if they're getting assisted, that's another d20, but it's being rolled by a different player. So it's possible to get up to 6 successes on something if you're good enough. And with the highest difficulty listed being 5, that means that there is a margin for success on pretty much any roll. While assisting, you can score critical successes or complications as more. So up to 7, theoretically. I mean, you could roll nothing but ones. You get my point. Example, dog meat is assisting the sole survivor in finding some medicine. The GM rolls 1d20 and adds any successes they get to the sole survivor's player's roll, provided the sole survivor's player gets at least 1 success. Dogmeat's target number is 13, rolling 1d20, his controlling player rolls a 5, generating 1 success, adding it to the sole survivor's 1 success for a total of 2 successes. I'm actually hoping this system does allow you to have like animal companions and stuff like that, but all they really do is assist in combat. Because that would be a really good way to handle it, especially in a system like this. Group tests. When your whole group attempts a single large activity, like sneaking through an area together, or traveling through a hazardous area, you make a special kind of assisted test. This normally occurs when the difficulty is particularly high, requiring multiple participants to make short work of the task. Once the GM has set the difficulty, you must decide who is going to lead the test while the rest of the group assists. The leader of the group test rolls a normal dice pool. 2d20 plus up to 3d20s they buy for the action points. Everyone else rolls 1d20 using their own attribute plus skill. So long as the test leader achieved 1 success, everyone assisting adds any successes they generated to the leader's score. If those accumulated successes equal or beat the difficulty, the group has passed the group test. Congratulations, group! You have passed! Any complications generated by anyone in the group rolling a 20 can be applied to by the GM after resolving the test and its consequences. Example, the sole survivor is sneaking past a group of synth seekers with Deacon and Strong, helping an escaped synth to their new life. The GM makes the test difficulty 4 as the synth patrol is incredibly vigilant. As Deacon is the best at sneak, he leads the test. His player will roll 2d20 and they spend 1 AP to increase their dice pool to 3d20. Both the sole survivor and Strong roll 1d20 each. Deacon scores 2 successes, the sole survivor scores 1 success, but Strong's player fails their roll, the group scoring 3 of the 4 successes they need. The GM resolves the test, describing how Strong was too noisy, and the job of sneaking past the synth group becomes a combat encounter, where Strong will no doubt ask someone for the milk of human kindness before ripping people's heads off. Because that's generally just how we go. I really like Strong. Complication range. Normally, any d20 that rolls a 20 generates a complication. However, some actions can be riskier instead of just more difficult. When tests are riskier, the GM can increase the complication range of the test, so you generate complications on more results than just a 20. For each increase in the complication range, a complication is generated on listed d20 results in the complication range table. Yeah, see, I don't know about that. I'm not sure how often I would use it. Maybe for the really big moments, I guess. But they already have a thing for making things more difficult. This feels like just adding extra on top, I guess. Success at a cost. At times, the GM may allow you to succeed at a cost when you fail a test. In these situations, you achieve whatever it was you were trying to accomplish with your skill test. You may not spend action points to improve the outcome. But in exchange, the GM causes you to suffer one or more complications as well. The GM should tell you how many complications you'll suffer, normally only one, and you can choose to simply fail if the cost is too high. I like that as well. It's part and parcel of a concept called failing forward, where it's like, as the GM, you sit there and then you go, okay, if the players fail this, the story won't continue. The players roll, and they pretty much just fail the checks that are needed. So as a GM, you're kind of stuck in this point where it's like, okay, do I just let them succeed anyway, even though they failed? Where with failing forward, it's a case of you succeed, but something comes up. Something is more complicated than it was originally intended to be. Action points. When you check your successes against the task difficulty, each success you generate above the difficulty becomes an action point. For example, if the task difficulty is 2 and you generate 3 successes, the extra success becomes 1 action point. Action points can be used to take additional actions, improve the outcome of a test, reduce the time it takes, learn more about a situation, or buy more D20s in future tests. Okay, so there's lots of uses for action points. This is good. I like a good... I like meta points that you can use for a lot of different things. Buy D20s 1 to 6 AP. Buy bonus D20s for a test, before the dice pool is rolled, but after the GM sets the difficulty. The cost increases for each die purchased. The first D20 costs 1 AP, the second costs 2, and the third costs 3. No more than 3 bonus D20s may be rolled for a single test, including any D20s from perks or traits. So 1 equals 1, 2 equals 2, 3 equals 3. All the purchase cost of it. That's a little bit confusing as well, but you just get used to it pretty quickly. Obtain information. 1 AP, ask the Game Master a single question about the current situation based on your test. The GM has to answer truthfully, but the answer might not be complete. That one's a little bit weird. Like, I get it. I do. Because sometimes it's a case of players will getting frustrated with a puzzle, or they just don't know where to go next. And they can be like, I'm spending an action point. What do? What do, GM? Reduce time. AP from a successful test can allow the test to take less time to complete when time is important. Spending 2 AP halves the amount of time a test takes to attempt. So if you're trying to pick a lock in a hurry, you spend 2 action points and get it done a little bit quicker. Oh, sorry about that. In combat, you can spend action points to do the following. Take additional minor action for 1. Take 1 additional minor action in your turn. You can only take a total of 2 minor actions in a single round. Take additional major action. Take 1 additional major action on your turn. Any skill test you must attempt is increased in difficulty by +1. You can only take a total of 2 major actions in a single round. Add extra damage. On a successful melee attack or firm weapon attack, you can spend AP to add 1 per AP spent up to a maximum of +3 for 3 AP. Okay, we'll have to go into how they handle damage in combat, particularly with the D6s. You spend action points either before or after you roll dice, and each option describes when you can spend action points to take advantage of its effect. You buy extra D20s for a test before you roll, while you spend action points after a test to obtain information. Reduce the time, improve the quality of success, or take an additional action. And this is our guide point here. So 2d20 is the standard. And if you spend 1, you get a total pool of +3. This is also helpful. I'm going to assume this would be on the GM screen. Rockobot takes the nation by storm. 10 #1 hits, including Carburetor and Carburetor Heartbreak. Unfortunate implications nowadays, but good nonetheless. Saving action points. If you don't want to spend the action points you generate immediately, you can save them for the group to use later. You can save up to a total of 6 AP as a group, and anyone can use the action points in the group pool. The Game Master's action point pool. Just like you, the GM has a pool of their own action points to spend on their NPC's actions. They start each game session with 1 AP per player. There is no maximum to how many action points the GM can have in the pool. Sorry, I'm just considering when I stream this, 1,000 channel points to buy an action point for the player or the GM, and I as the GM just end up with like 10 or something. Buying dice without action points. If you don't have any action points to buy d20s, you may instead generate AP for the Game Master. For each AP you want to spend in this way, the GM adds 1 AP to their pool, which they can use later on their NPC's actions and tests. You may only give the GM action points to buy d20s. You can't do this for other uses of AP. Oh, that's... Ooh. There's a gambling mechanic for you. I really want to hit the shot, Mr. GM. So I'm going to give you 1 AP. So I get 1 extra die for this. And the GM nods sagely, waits for their enemy to come along in their turn and their round, and then just wipe the floor with them. That's also a really great shot. $6:41. Ugh, that's way too early to be awake. Vault 17. We've had a few different mentions of different vaults. Luck. In addition to being one of your attributes, your luck also provides luck points that you can spend to shift the odds in your favor in a number of different ways. Okay, when you start each session with a number of luck points equal to your luck attribute, you can spend luck points to do one of the following options, both during free form play or on your turn in combat. Luck of the drawer. You may spend a luck point to introduce a helpful fact or detail about the situation you're in. Something that you'd be lucky to have in a counter. You could find just the right items or the right kind of ammo while you're scavenging. Find a key to a locked door or a clue to a computer password. The Game Master may prompt you with an opportunity to do this, or you may suggest when it could happen, but they can veto your suggestions or ask you to spend multiple luck points to make it happen. That's very much a meta mechanic a la Blades in the Dark, I want to say, where you can just generate extra things for the scene. Stack deck. You may spend 1 point of luck before you attempt a skill test to use luck instead of the default attribute used for that test to determine your target number. Obviously, this only really has a benefit if your luck is higher than the attribute's replacing. So you could use luck in place of anything, just be up. So how many people have just walked in with a luck 10 character? Show of hands. Lucky timing. In a combat encounter at the start of any round or immediately after any other character or creature has acted, you may spend 1 luck to interrupt the normal initiative order and take your turn for this round immediately. This counts as your normal turn. It simply allows you to act earlier, and you cannot do it if you have already taken a return this round. So considering most people will start with at least 4 or 5 luck. And you get luck at the start of a session. Yeah, start of each session. So back to our pre-gens for a second. Yeah, luck 5. Luck 7, yeah. So if you do really poorly on your initiative roll, you've got something there to fix it if you need be. Yes, it is the 2d20 from version from Diffius. I'm actually not minding it. It uses a roll under mechanic that I've always been a little bit dubious of, but considering the mechanics involved, it makes a lot of sense. You have all the books. Well, I don't need to explain it to you then, do I? I am loving the artwork a lot. I have seen some of the books, and I do like what I've seen. Like they're really putting some effort into it, and they've got a war game tactics game as well for it. Fallout Factions, I think it was called. It's released not recently, but the last couple of months. I'm intrigued to have a look at it. I do love the 2d20 mechanic. It's unique. It is unique, especially in using the d20. I know GURPS uses a roll under system using 3d6. Basic role playing, which I believe is Call of Cthulhu, uses percentile. And I know Heroes Unlimited also used, like the Palladium systems used percentile dice and you had to roll under. But using it in this way is actually really interesting and I do like it. Especially now that I've wrapped my head around it a bit better. Have you had a chance to play it though? That's the big question. Misfortune. You may spend 1 or more luck points to re-roll dice in a dice pool you roll. You may re-roll 1 d20 or up to 3 faces by spending 1 luck point, and you can spend multiple luck points on a roll. Each die may only be re-rolled once. You cannot re-roll a die that has already been re-rolled. That's pretty standard. You haven't? Having trouble finding players for it? Because I will say, like a month or 2 back, I mentioned it on Blue Sky, but I was talking to my Thursday night group, which I run for once a fortnight. And basically, I fronted up to him and I said, hey, look. I was running Pathfinder for him at the time, and I was like, hey, look. I'm already running 3 games of Pathfinder in the week, and there's 6 of you. So I wouldn't mind switching to a different system. And one of the systems I really tried to push was Fallout. And I had some interest for it, but most of the players, like a good half of them, I think, just really weren't interested in doing anything outside of fantasy, which was disappointing. I had a really bad experience trying to GM, so I've always been gun shy of being a GM again. I get that. No, I do. I know the first couple of times I did try GMing, it didn't go well. I think the first time I ever tried GMing, I made one of my players cry. Because I berated them in character, and it was super embarrassing. But GMing is one of those things where if you have the right players, and they're like, you let them know that you're kind of starting out as a GM, I've found that a lot of players will be pretty understanding about it. And if they're not, you don't want to play with them anyway. And it is what I kind of like about online groups as well. Because usually when it comes to an online group, they're looking for a GM. And it's like, it's fine. If you're still learning, it's fine. Because we want to play this game, we want to see how it goes. Example, Nick Valentine is hacking a computer and his player hasn't generated enough successes to pass the skill test. They need 2 successes and have rolled a 9 and a 19, generating only 1 success. Nick's player decides to spend a point of his luck and re-roll the d20 that rolled a 19. Rolling it again, Nick's player gets a 6, generating the second success they needed to pass the test. See, I'm also liking the meta use of luck and action points. And considering players both have access to them, I have so many questions. Regaining luck. You start your quest with a number of luck points equal to your luck attribute. Once you've spent a point, it can't be used again until the Game Master refreshes them when you reach a milestone in your session or when you start a new session. When they are refreshed, you get all of your luck points back, no matter how many you've spent. You can't have any more luck points than your luck attribute. That's okay. Once you spend, it can't be used again until the Game Master refreshes them when you reach a milestone in your session or when you start a new session. So, what that means, at least from my angle of things, is particularly when I'm running Pathfinder 2, there'll be cases when the players are a little bit strapped for spell slots and a couple of other things, but they're about to face the boss. It actually came up on the Discord like a day or two ago. And it's like, what do? With this, as the Game Master, if my players get up to the boss encounter, I could be like, hey, hi, you've reached a milestone in the session, you're about to fight a boss monster, you get all your luck back. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of all sorts of dice systems, so I'm PF2, SF2, Fallout Homeworld, Bunkers and Badasses, L5R4E, The Wild Sea, Slug Blaster, Fragged Empire 2E, Ironheart, Astro Prisma. There's a lot. There is a lot. I actually recognize most of them. Was it you that mentioned Slug Blaster the other day? I think it might have been. Yeah? Because, oh, where was it? Because usually when someone mentions a book, particularly an indie one or something like that, I can never find it locally, but there's a cool site for Australians that deals in indie RPGs. They're kind of hit and miss, but they have Slug Blaster. And I had to like quickly read the blurb for it. I'm actually kind of interested. Fragged Empire is a Australian-based creation by Wade Dyer. I've heard of it before. It's something I kind of want to look into, but I'm not sure. There's a bunch of role-playing systems I want to look into. That website also has Wildsea, which I want to look into as well. Because I looked at Wildsea and I was like, I like myself a Green Apocalypse. I truly do. But I've already got Will to Feast on the boil, and I'm putting together a game for that. And there's a bunch of people who are like, so, Matt, Obscura, are you going to run Fallout in the future? It's one of the reasons I'm doing this now. If I do run Fallout, it'll probably be somewhat in line with the TV series, because I'm shameless like that. Yeah, but what about more sailing book? Yeah. Oh, Wildsea and Slugbuster use the same-ish system. Well, that's good. Same writer or just similar systems? Chapter 2, Combat. Also, I'm probably not going to be able to work much on a sailing book for a little while. Mainly because it looks like I might have to do some work for Starfinder. With the recent announcements about their ship combat stuff. I kind of want to make sure I've got my stuff prepared for when I start running it. Combat encounters. Combat encounters involve characters attacking their opponents and defending themselves and their allies, and are more structured than freeform play. Instead of freely taking actions, the encounter is broken down into rounds, and during each round, each character takes a single turn. The round represents a short amount of time, a few seconds up to a minute at most. I do like that this is variable. I understand why it's kind of set in stone for Pathfinder and a lot of the other D20 systems, but I do prefer when combat rounds are a little bit more variable. Wildsea was headed by MythWorks and Slugbuster was done by a separate dev, but MythWorks is helping them do a physical release. Aww. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. On that site I linked, it's the hardcover. Because they have a boxed version and it's like, there's too many games to want to run. And I kind of have to prioritize games that I can actually run online. You can attempt one minor action and one major action in each turn. A minor action represents something quick or supportive of your major action, like aiming or drawing a weapon, while a major action represents something that involves more concentration or effort, like attacking an opponent, defending yourself, hacking a computer, or picking a lock. Sequence of play. Initiate combat. The character who initiated the combat takes a single turn before the first round. Okay. Okay. I mean, that kind of incentivizes players to be the assholes. Like if a negotiation is going south, one of the players just pulls their gun and takes a shot. It works really well for the vibe of the game. Initiative. List all characters in order of their initiative statistic from highest to lowest. Each character in order from highest to initiative to lowest takes a turn. That's pretty standard. Begin a new round. Once every character has taken a turn, the round is over. Begin a new round, repeating step 3 and step 4 as many times as needed to resolve the conflict. Initiative. When combat begins, the player who initiated the combat takes a turn immediately. Once this is done, the Game Master ranks the combatants in order of their initiative statistics from highest to lowest, and the first round begins. In each round, the character with the highest initiative goes first, and then each character takes a turn in order of highest to lowest. If there is a tie, the GM decides which character or creature goes first. Once the last character has completed the turn, the round ends, and the character with the highest initiative takes the first turn the next round. Repeat this sequence until the conflict ends. There is a perk in the full rules that is basically gain a dog companion. Thank you. Excellent. I was curious about that. Would I pick up that perk pretty much every time? Probably. Initiative statistics. Your character's initiative is equal to their perception plus their agility, plus any bonuses from equipment or perks. Like sunglasses. A character NPC's initiative is calculated in the same way as player characters, though some powerful NPCs add bonuses. Actions. You can attempt one minor action on your turn in combat. You can take one additional minor action by spending 1 action point, and you can take one additional major action by spending 2 action points. But the difficulty of any test attempted on the second major action is increased by 1. You may take your actions in any order you wish during your turn. And considering the fact that your action pool is shared as a group, you're kind of, like, you wouldn't want to be spending too many. Unless you're, like, truly desperate. You cannot take more than 2 minor actions and 2 major actions on your turn by any means. You cannot take more than 1 movement action per turn. Minor actions. Aim. Re-roll 1d20 on the first attack roll you make this turn. That I like. That's just, I wish more systems just had a basic aim mechanic. Like even Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I wish there was just a default action called aim, where you just added a +1 to your attack roll. Particularly with ranged weapons. Draw item. Draw one item carried on your person to pick up an object or item within your reach. You may put an item away as part of this action. Interact. Interact with your equipment or environment in a simple way, like opening a door or pushing a button. So we can burn dance again. Move. Movement action. Move up to one zone to any position within medium range. Alternatively, stand up from a prone position. Okay, so that tells me they use range bands instead of proper distance. Or more exacting distance. See, I thought they would have gone for hexes. Considering the origins of Fallout. Take chem. Administer a dose of the chem that you are holding, targeting yourself or a willing character within your reach. If you're not holding the chem, then you need to draw it first. So one minor action to draw it, spend an action point for a second minor action, dose yourself with the chem. Fair enough. Spending luck to act faster. You can also spend luck points to interrupt the normal initiative order and take your turn earlier in the round. You must do this at the end of another character's turn, but before your turn in the initiative order. You cannot interrupt another player while it is their turn. Once you have taken your turn, you do not take another at your normal point in initiative order until the next round. Well, because initiative is static... Alright, first, when you spend a luck point to take your turn earlier, you take your turn immediately. You can take one minor and one major action as normal, and can spend action points to take additional actions as normal. You are still limited to the number of actions you can take in a round, and can be interrupted by the ready action as normal. So, because you have a static initiative number, let's go back to our pre-gens. Initiative 12. So because this initiative number is static, that I was wondering why they didn't have like a roll mechanic for your initiative. But because it's a static number, this makes a lot more sense. Or at least the static number for initiative makes more sense regarding the luck points. Because it means you're not going to be shuffling up and down the initiative tracker, and it's easier to figure out. Prone! You may be knocked prone by attacks, hazards, or complications. You may also drop prone willingly at the end of any movement action you perform. Being prone has the following effects. When you're prone, you crawl. The move action becomes a major action rather than a minor action, and you cannot take the sprint action. While you're prone, enemies at medium range or further add +1 to difficulty of any attacks against you. While you're prone, enemies at close range reduce the difficulty of attacks, including melee attacks, by 1 to a minimum of 0. While you're prone, you can reroll any cover you have. So when you're defending, obviously. Major actions. There's a few of them. Assist. You assist another character with the next test. That's doing the 1d20. Attack. Make a melee or ranged attack as described and make an attack on page 21, so the next page. Command an NPC. If you have an allied NPC under your command, choose a single major action for them to take. If the action requires a test, then you automatically assist using Charisma plus Speech. If the NPC is a person, Charisma plus Survival if the NPC is an animal, or Intelligence plus Science if the NPC is a robot. Oh, I see. But they don't get a minor action. Do the companions, like, just always get a minor action? I have so many questions. Defend! You focus on protecting yourself. Make an agility plus athletics test with a difficulty equal to your current defense. If you succeed, add +1 to your defense. For 2 AP, add an extra +1 to your defense. First aid. You try to quickly patch the wounds of yourself or an ally. Make an intelligence plus medicine test with a difficulty equal to the number of injuries the patient has. And increase the difficulty by 1 if you're trying to perform first aid on yourself. If you succeed, you can either heal HP equal to your medicine rating, page 28. Would that be different from rank? It's probably going to be different, isn't it? We'll get there. Treat one injury the patient is suffering from, also page 28, or stabilize a dying patient. Pass. You choose not to do anything. Rally. You grit your teeth, catch your breath, and prepare yourself. Make an endurance plus survival test with a difficulty of 0. And save any action points you generate. The GM may allow you to use a different attribute skill for the action depending on how you describe it, such as charisma plus speech to inspire your allies. There we go! I was trying to see whether they would have an easy way to generate action points. And yeah, you could just use Rally. Ready. Describe a situation you expect to occur and choose a major action you will perform when it does. If that action occurs before the start of your next turn, you may perform that major action immediately, interrupting other characters' actions as necessary. If more than one character has readied an action for the same situation, their readied actions occur in initiative order. I can understand that. Sprint, movement action, you move up to 2 zones to anywhere within long range. So I'm guessing, once again, they're probably going to describe this later. I'm guessing the range bands are based on the individual, not on the, not on like a generic number or something. I know what I'm talking about. Test. Perform a skill test for an action not covered by the other actions with the Game Master's permission. All right, yeah. Action points of combat encounters, this is the same. Add extra damage, so this is just all of, yeah. That's easy done. Oh, look at Dog Meat, he's so happy. Look at him outside a bird. And his dad's blowing apart things. Though I wonder what they're fighting. Because as far as... Well, no, the Enclave as well. Yeah, okay, they might be fighting the Enclave. Making an attack. Choose weapon and target. Select one weapon you are currently wielding. Wow. What's up, Kuraga? Good to see you in here. Select one weapon you are currently wielding, then select a single character, creature, or object as the target. If you're using a melee weapon, the target must be visible to you and within your reach. If you're using a ranged weapon, the target may be visible to you. See, okay, here's the terrible part. Look, I know we're in the middle of something. I do apologize. But seeing this, I'm immediately getting a image in my head of how to run it in Foundry, where you have the vertibird as the center, and you have the background, which is like the land beneath or something like that, kind of scrolling past. And the players are on the vertibird taking shots, using like Gatling guns and stuff like that, or like passing targets and everything else like that. I really dig the idea. But anyway... Then select a single character, creature, or object as the target. If you're using a melee weapon, the target must be in reach. If you're using a ranged weapon, the target must be visible to you. Choose hit location. Here's what I wanted to see. You may choose to target a specific part of a target, creature, or character. This increases the difficulty of the attack by 1. Okay. Okay. Yeah, right. Because that means you have to get an additional success on D20, so you're gonna want to be... And you have to decide that beforehand. Well, that answers our earlier question of whether they're going to have localized armor. That suggests that they will. Attempt a test. The test is determined by the type of weapon used. Roll a strength plus melee weapons test with a difficulty equal to your target's defense. Okay. So we'll go back to the pre-gen characters for a second, because they're going to have a defense rating somewhere, aren't they? There we go, 1. So the difficulty to hit Bailey Big Smile here, who's a ghoul, is only 1. So whoever's attacking Bailey only needs to succeed once. That's pretty easy. Thrown is perception plus explosives, once again against the defense. This is obviously modified by range, so if it's outside the range of the weapon, I'm guessing that will increase the difficulty by 1. Unarmed is strength plus unarmed with a difficulty equal to your target's defense. 3. Determine hit location. If you passed your test, roll 1d20 on or a hit location die to determine the part of the target you hit. If you choose a specific hit location already, you hit the chosen location instead. As a general rule, and this is something I've learned for running several different systems, you kind of don't want multiple rolls to be the norm when you're just trying to calculate the hit. So particularly with this kind of thing, one of the options you always want to be there is players just go for the torso unless they specifically want to go for a specific part. They just go for the torso, because having to roll an extra die can slow down combat a hell of a lot, especially if you're doing it for every roll. Like, consider you have 5 players at your table, and they're up against 5 creatures. So everyone has to do their test to see if they hit, which is fine, because then you do the damage and everything else like that. But you do the hit, and then you have to stop and figure out the location. And judging by this, because they're using piecemeal armor, physical damage resistance, energy damage resistance, I can automatically assume that damage resistance is going to be penalized. Are there any creatures without a torso? I mean, it's Fallout. It's possible. I mean, I've seen creatures that are only arms and legs. But yeah, I'm just... because that'd be physical energy, yeah. And you tick up the HP, and the HP is probably an expression of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to assume everyone's got 12 to 13. Super Mutant has 13, so he's got an extra point of hit points. Brotherhood Initiative. Is the giant scorpion's body a torso? Does it have a face? I would say yes. I get the feeling they'd go through it in the actual proper bestiary for it. But yeah, just if you're rolling to hit which pot every time, that's an extra calculation you have to do, and you have to figure out, okay, how much damage has happened to that specific part. If the player wants to be specific and they're doing the cold shots, that's fine. They're investing in it. But as standard combat, having to figure out the hit location on every single hit just slows things down. But thankfully, we can just choose to ignore that. Inflict damage. Roll a number of combat dice listed by the weapon's damage rating, plus any bonuses from derived statistics or from AP or ammo spent. Reduce the target's health points by the total rolled. Resistances. The target reduces the total damage inflicted by their damage resistance against the attack's damage type on the location hit. This is why we just generally assume they're going for the torso. Or center mass, as it is often called. Reduce ammunition. If you made a ranged attack, remove 1 shot of ammunition, plus any additional shots of ammunition spent on the attack. So we're going to have a automatic fire option, I'm guessing. If you made a thrown weapon attack, remove the thrown weapon from your inventory. I assume the shotguns also have some sort of thing with hit location. Yeah, I'm interested to see how it's handled. Hit locations. There are 6 body parts that you can target as hit locations. Head, torso, left arm, right arm, left leg, right leg. Snipers and perks too. Well, snipers I think is one of the real carve out for it. because I'm guessing there is probably a sniper perk that makes it easier to hit specific locations. Another system that did it was Tefra, the steampunk RPG. And we just found having to do figure out the hit location every shot was just bogging down combat way too much. But we had a player who was a sniper, and they had a specific adjustment to their sniper rifle called Heart Seeker, which would specifically seek out the heart on any target. So you assumed always that it was going for the heart. Which made it really fun when I put them up against robots. Coronacht, is that you? I don't know who that is. Creatures with other hit locations. Here you go. Here you go, Karaga. Some creatures in the wasteland may have other body parts, wings, claws, and tails that do not appear on the hit location table. These locations will be listed in the creature's statistics, replacing the hit locations table with its own. Well, there you go. Ranged attacks within reach. Being in reach of an enemy is disruptive to ranged attacks and tests, adding a +2 to the difficulty of any test that isn't a melee attack. Alright, that's fair enough. Range. I'm a big fan of Fallout games lore, but for tabletop RPGs, I prefer one system because I've had time learning multiple systems. Yeah, that's fine. I know some people struggle with that. I've mentioned it a couple of times recently, but I was trained on multiple systems. I wanted to play nothing but Pathfinder, but the GM who was training me at the time was like, no, if we're running more than one game in a week, it's going to be each night, each session is going to be a different game. And it kind of forced me to know how to have a general understanding of how multiple systems work. But I do get it when people want to stick to one. I really do. Because if you lead a busy life or you just have trouble, because we were having troubles wrapping our heads around for the mechanics of this earlier. It took me a couple of read-throughs to really figure it out. So no, I do get it. So in the case of the Rad Scorpion, they actually have a weak spot, which is the head. If you choose to act the head, you ignore the creature's DR unless it's a random shot. Well, there you go. And this is one of those things where in Pathfinder 2nd edition, you'd do a recall knowledge check, but in this, in Fallout, you would spend an action point to ask the GM a question, and you'd ask, hey, does it have a weak spot? And the GM would be like, yes, it does have a weak spot. And then as the player, you'd be like, you're not going to tell me where the weak spot is, are you? Nope. I've told you the truth, but it is incomplete. No, I would tell where the weak spot is. Or I would say, you know, there's a glowing red point on their head. Do the old Resident Evil thing. Range. Ranged and thrown weapons can be used to attack any target you can see, but they vary in effectiveness depending on how far away the target is from you. Ranged weapons have an ideal range noted in the profile just listed as range, which is based on the relative distance between the attacker and the target using the zones of the combat environment. See distances and ranges on page 31. Also, Red Scorpions are tough. Yeah, look, I imagine they would have the DR of like 4 or 5 or something, and it's like, if you're not aiming for the head, you're just gonna have a bad time. Close, the weapon is most effective against targets within the same zone. The weapon is most effective against targets in the adjacent zone. 2 zones away, 3 or more. I do like that they're using weapon bands. Head, tails, and pincher. Well, I get the feeling you could... Similar to Wilderfeast, but on a different way. I believe it would be a case of, for instance, if you do X amount of hit point damage to the tail, they can't use the tail anymore. If I study from the first to the last letter. I am ready to keep in my head entire encyclopedias of information, but it should preferably be something that I use on a regular basis. That is why I do not want to get into other systems. If I try, then I will plunge into the system with my head, and this is a pain for me. Yeah, no, like I said, I completely understand. Albedino! Albindo? Albindo red scorpion. There's a joke in there. There really is. I'm gonna leave it because I think it's a little bit too obvious. There we go. Let's see. I'm glad someone picked it up. But yeah, Karaga, you're fine. Like, for me, at the moment, I'm doing mostly just design for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I don't know how I would do designing for outside of that at the moment. Just because my head's so much in that space at the moment. The difficulty of a ranged attack increases by 1 for each range band outside the weapon's ideal range, whether closer or further away. A long sniper's rifle is deadly at long ranges, but awkward and unwieldy in close quarters, while pistols great at close range, but less useful at longer distances. Also, on a side note, you can multiplayer Mr. Handy. I have heard that. I don't think they're in the chat at the moment, but I'm pretty damn sure Mato would immediately be like, yeah, no, I'll play a robot. Actually, I think one of the pre-gen characters is a Mr. Haney. Cool, Superman, Brotherhood and shit. Mr. Haney, yeah, Marvin. He gets a flamethrower? Perks and trades? Oh, I'm gonna have to re-put that in a minute. It's fine. Yeah, this is fine. This is just quick reference. I'm guessing there's a GM screen with a lot of these quick reference tables around. Combat dice, here we go. When your attack hits its target, you inflict an amount of damage determined by the weapon's damage rating. This damage rating is described as a number of combat dice abbreviated with the Fallout Boy symbol throughout this rulebook. Combat dice is specially designed 6-sided dice with 4 different results as shown on the combat dice results table. If you don't have any combat dice, you can simply use normal 6-sided dice d6 and compare the results to the table below. When you hit, roll all the combat dice for the attack together as a single dice pool and total of the result. This total is the amount of damage you inflict on your target. In addition, any effect symbols, the face showing the combat dice symbol, activate special abilities called damage effects listed for the table. So 3 of 4 is a blank. 1 damage plus damage effects trigger. So 1, 2, 3, 4 do nothing. Well. So I'm a bit curious now. Just a wee bit. Hopefully this doesn't cause the stream to chunder at all. But I am pulling up Foundry because I know it has Fallout. Do I have a test already? I do not. Just bear with me a second. Fallout test. Please tell me I still have it installed. I do. Look at me go. Game Master, because I want to see how they handle it in the Foundry system. Oh wow, it's got. Sorry, let me actually show people. Oh, you can't see it, but it's below the screen here, but they have a party AP. No, don't do this to me. Bugs. All right. Let's have a look. Create a scene. Tester. That's fine. That's soul. Okay, this is really good. That's really funky. Left click, treated. Oh god. Has anyone else like looked into this? Like surely someone else, but more now have you had a look at this in Foundry? Because this is pretty cool. And I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong. I'm not pretty sure I pronounced your name wrong again. I do apologize. All right, that's NPC. Bandit. Now, okay. Well, they can't see each other, which sucks, but why are they doing this to me? Vision. See, the PF2 system spoils me so much. Okay, so target. Do we have any preloaded? We do, okay. Well, yeah, no, it doesn't. Effects spread vicious. That's stuff we'll get into in a second. That's a brutal. Oh, okay, so then you do... Does it automate? That's one of the things I want to know. Reroll. Reroll? There we go. Physical. Yep, alright. Reroll. See, I'm not seeing how you actually apply the damage. That'd just be an add. DC roll, no. We don't want to do that. See, it just might be because they're not properly implemented. But I imagine it would automate the hit location as well. That's... See, now I'm wondering if they have a an overlay mod that makes it look like Fallout. I did roll with the thing targeted first, yeah. Well, that's a good question, actually. No, they didn't. There we go. Defense 1, all that other stuff. Well, okay, since we're here now... Oh, they've got all the quick start things in. Wait, really? No way. I did click that, didn't I? In Portal, yeah. Okay, so there's no... All right, that's fine. Oh, man. So no pictures, but... DC 2... And there we go. So it's just because that was incomplete. Hit location, right leg, thruster, right hind legs, legs. And I'm guessing it would be the same with the pipe gun. Roll. God, happy cannot hit. And this is a hit location again. Now, we don't have pictures, I don't think. Yeah, we don't have pictures for our peeps, which is unfortunate, but that's fine. You can grab your own. But I'm always really happy to see how well it's implemented. I've never looked at I've had the Fallout engine or system installed on my Fallout for a very long time now. I had no idea it had the Quickstart already built into it. And they got a section for power armor as well if you're using it. Augusta. Conditions. Oh, so you have a tracker for if they're feeling starved. Oh, this is really neat. I'm loving this. Chat. I got too many games I need to run already. I don't need another one. Luck points 5. Starved ghouls are dangerous ghouls, right? Always dangerous. And you can just alter that, obviously. And there'll be something to reroll. Weapons already there. Okay, so I want to find something out now. And it automatically ticks down with your ammunition. That's so good. No, I'm running Wilder Feast already. I don't need to run another Fallout game. Now, if you're still in chat, I'm pretty sure I've seen that they've got adventure books. Do you know if those adventure books have Foundry implementation? Just when you're ready. But we're gonna go to back to the PDF for now. This is fine, don't worry about me. Increasing damage. You do have those books as well? Alright. How good are they? That's the question. Like, we're all aware of the Paizo standard, and we all know I've kind of got high expectations as well. If you haven't read them, that's fine, but I'm kind of curious. Increasing damage. Each action point you spend adds +1 to the roll in your damage dice pool. Yep, you can spend up to 3. And you can always rally to increase the amount of AP that you have. Rally is a major, so rally, next turn strike. Or rally, spend an action point, or spend 2 action points to do an extra attack. Okay. All right. For ranged weapons, each unit of ammunition you spend adds 1 to the roll in your damage dice pool. You can spend ammunition up to the gun's fire rate. For example, a 10mm pistol has a fire rate of 2, so you can spend 2 additional 10mm bullets to increase the combat dice pool. So they have like single adventures, and then they have the big adventure path style one called Winter of Adam. Okay, so they have like a full adventure path. Just bear with me for a second, chat, and I need to check something. Don't mind me. It's fine, don't worry about it. We go Winter of Atom. All right, $21. That's not bad. Foundry, VTT, Winter of Adam. I'm just checking. Don't worry. Oh, that's from like 2 years ago. The role-playing game for Foundry VTT, that's fine. Oh, okay. So I think there was one based in Boston before the emergence of the Frozen one who keeps pressing X for Sean. Yeah, Winter Adam. I don't think there's an official Foundry module for it. Or at least not that I can see. There's a couple of start playing things for it, but that's, yeah. I would have to have a look at it. I really would. No, I'm already running too many games, and I can't add another one to the spread at the moment. I really can't. Damage types. There are 4 damage types. Physical, energy, radiation, poison, radiation exposure to rads and nuclear weaponry. Each target has a damage resistance DR for each of these types based on a clothing, armor, or naturally tough hides or a chitin. While most forms of protection provide physical DR, energy DR is rare, while radiation or poison protection are particularly rare. But there's some things that you'd come across. I think we saw that the ghoul has them. Damage effects. Damage effects augment how the damage you inflict to a target is applied. Fun fact, ghouls are 100% immune to rads. Well, there you go. Lasers and hunting acceptable overkill. Okay. Each weapon lists its damage effects immediately after its damage rating. Burst, the attack hits 1 additional target within close range of the primary target for each effect rolled. Okay, so when you get the... Pardon me. So when you get the full out boy face, you trigger whatever effect is on that weapon. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. For each effect rolled, reduce the number of a target's cover provided by 1 permanently. If the target is not in cover, instead reduce the DR of the location struck by 1. Oh god. According to the damage type of the weapon. Physical damage only reduces physical DR, for example. That's... okay, yeah, no, oh, ah. And yeah, you can just start dropping it. Ooh, okay. All right. Persistent. If one or more effects are rolled, the target suffers the weapon's damage again at the end of their next and subsequent turns for a number of rounds equal to the number of effects rolled. Okay. The target can spend a major action to make a test to stop persistent damage early with the difficulty equal to the number of effects rolled. So 1 for 5. So for the short adventure books, they are leveled out, but they are oddly numbered. So issue number 3 is for levels 1 to 5. Issue number 1 is 6 to 10. Issue number 4 is 11 to 15. And issue number 2 is the 16 to 20. But I like that they have the short adventure books as well. I do need to look into it a lot more now, because it looks like it has a fair bit of support. I kind of want to see how people do their attack maps, though, because that's very important to how I do things on the channel. Piercing X ignores the target DR. That's pretty typical. Radioactive. For every effect rolled, the target also suffers 1 point of radiation damage. This radiation damage is totaled and applied separately after a character has suffered the normal damage from the attack. So if you're using like radioactive rounds or something like that. Or if you're up against a glowing one ghoul. Spread. For each effect rolled, your attack inflicts 1 additional hit on the target. Each additional hit inflicts half the rolled damage, rendered down, and hits a random location even if a specific location was targeted for the initial attack. I'll say this, the books aren't watermarked. I can't say anything in response to that. We're on Twitch. Stun. If one or more effects are rolled, the target cannot take their normal actions on their next turn. A stunned character or a creature can still spend AP to take additional actions as normal. That's fair. Vicious. The attack inflicts +1 damage each for each effect roll. It smells like a joke for something falling off the back of a trailer. Now. This is a good Christian Minecraft server, okay? We all give honor to the Emperor here. It's fine. Radiation damage is applied differently than other damage types. Each point of radiation damage after reduction for the location's radiation DR reduces the character's maximum health points. Oh god! Okay. Rather than their current health points. If a character's health point maximum is reduced below their current health point total, then their current HP are reduced as well. You did legally... Oh, yeah, not a question there. I will say I appreciate it when a company doesn't, like, go to the extra effort of, like, watermarking everything. Because we get it. You don't want people to, like, steal a pirate. But it's a case of... There's a whole balancing act in there. I'm just still pissy that the Trove was taken down. We lost so much when the Trove was taken down. It makes me sad. There were people using the Trove to do research papers on, like, the progression and the history of tabletop role-playing games. And then because a couple of people got a little bit annoyed, lost so much knowledge. Radiation damage is only reduced by a target's radiation damage resistance according to the location hit. If the radiation would affect the whole body like an environmental effect, then use the character or creature's lowest locational radiation DR. That makes sense. Semper Fi Vaporiator. In all cases where a character would suffer radiation damage and another type of damage at the same time, resolve the radiation damage after any other types of damage. That's... Well, let's go for the example. Piper is attacked by a glowing feral ghoul, taking 3 radiation damage. The GM rolls their combat dice and totals 4 damage with an effect, inflicting 4 physical damage and 1 radiation damage. Piper has 2 physical resistance, so she reduces her current health points by 2. Then she reduces her maximum health points by 1 because of the radiation damage. That's... Whew. Piper. I didn't mind her, okay? My first playthrough of Fallout 4, I had Piper as my companion. You gotta watch out for those rat procs, particularly when encounters are involved. Yeah, look. Breaking things! Inanimate objects can be damaged just like characters and creatures. Most of the time, the GM handles damage to your surroundings as part of the description of the environment. Stray bullets breaking glass, splintering wood, or ricocheting from from steel. But there are times where breaking an object is the point rather than purely descriptive. Damaging an object works just the same as damaging a character. Roll to hit, roll the weapon's damage rating, subtract the object's damage resistance, or reduce its health. The first thing I do is hit it in the face. To open Diamond City with no dialogue. Okay. I'm one of those people that I have a playthrough of Fallout 4 where I put it onto hardcore survival mode, and I just enjoyed wandering from place to place. Like, I barely did any combat for the first, like, 20 or 30 hours of play. I just wandered from place to place. It was so much fun, and I love the vibe of it. God, I want to do it again. But I also do not want to go for the trouble of doing the mods. Playing Fallout, I wonder what that's like, yeah. Yeah, I use the alternate start mods to just go exploring. Yeah. It's one of the... Whenever I played Fallout 4 or Skyrim, I always use alternate start mods. I'm playing Convergence for Elden Ring at the moment, and depending on your class, it changes where you start. So good. I love it so much. I lost all my old Star Wars Saga Edition books and you can't get them anymore. You can't because they're out of print. The Saga Edition, was that West End Games or the Whatsy ones? But look at this picture. Like, I like it when they support... Yeah, no, look. I like it when they provide pictures like this, because I would just cut this out and use it as a splash page for when I'm running games. I do it all the time now. I need to do it more often, actually. They were the 3rd edition Star Wars by Watsy. Well, do you have the PDFs? If you don't, we may be able to have a conversation. If you're after them, that is. I'm not saying anything. But I am Australian, and we do have a reputation. A character that has lost health points isn't seriously hurt. They may have suffered scratches, scrapes, cuts, and bruises, but nothing that would hinder them. However, once a character's health points are reduced to 0, they are defeated and begin dying. In addition, characters may suffer from serious injuries as a result of being reduced to 0 HP or as a result of critical hits. They never produce them into PDFs. We do. People find the accent attractive. Yes, they do apparently find the accent very attractive. They never produced them into PDF. They didn't? Oh my, that's interesting. I don't mind the Australian accent. I don't have it, or at least I don't think I have it. I never hear my own accent. Critical hits and injuries. A critical hit occurs whenever a character suffers 5 or more damage in one hit. A critical hit imposes an injury on the character, which confers a penalty depending on location hit. I'm just going to be checking something very quickly. No, okay. That's easy fix, though. Alright. We'll talk later now. Arm. You drop any object held in that hand, and the arm is broken or otherwise unable to move. You cannot perform any actions using that arm by itself or alongside your other arm. Saga Edition ended around 4A when they lost the license to Fantasy Flight Games, and it was before WotC really got into producing PDFs for books. Yeah, no, I'm aware. Are you into, like, Jedis and stuff? Yeah, no, we'll talk later. Leg, you immediately fall prone as your leg gives out under your weight. You can no longer take the sprint action, and the move action is now a major action for you. Torso, you begin bleeding heavily. At the end of each of your subsequent turns, you suffer 2 physical damage, ignoring all your damage resistances. See, that would suck. But I get it, 5 damage. But this is why you would have a sniper or someone hanging back and taking, like, cold shots at people's arms and legs and things. Head, you are momentarily dazed and lose your normal actions in your turn, though you may spend AP for extra actions than normal. Further, you cannot see clearly and increase the difficulty of all tests which rely on vision by 2. These effects last until the injury has received medical attention. Dying. When your character is reduced to 0 hit points, they suffer an injury to the location struck, and then fall prone and start dying. If they suffer a critical hit and are reduced to 0 HP, they suffer 2 injuries, 1 for the critical hit and 1 for being reduced to 0 HP. Okay, that's similar to what they do with Pathfinder 2nd Edition. While they are dying, they are unconscious, cannot recover HP from the first aid action, and cannot take any actions. Furthermore, at the start of each of your turns while they're dying, you must attempt an endurance plus survival test with a difficulty equal to the number of injuries they have and a complication range of 19 to 20. If you pass this test, they remain alive but are still dying. If you fail, they die. Ooh. No, it's just like Unstruck Companions. If they suffer any damage while dying, they immediately gain 1 additional injury, in addition to any injury caused by another critical hit. See, tricky. It's not a death spiral, but it's close to one. See, that's just perfect. Like, I love that. Also, why aren't they excavating the armor? That steel's going to be good. At the very least. Even if the electronics and stuff are all gone, you could still use it as armor. I crit hit that reduces 0, yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing that. And they seem to be doing this combination of CG art and just other methodologies. Also that axe, yeah. See, I want to see if they got customized rules. Healing. When you've taken damage, there are a number of ways you can recover. In the midst of combat, stim packs and first aid are the only ones to heal. But outside of combat, you have several options. The medicine and survival skills are the most useful skills for healing. Healing actions in combat. Take a chem. A number of chems, most commonly stim packs, can be used in a hurry in combat to restore health points. Taking the minor action allows you to administer the chem to yourself or to a willing creature within reach. First aid. You try to quickly patch the wounds of yourself or an ally. Attempt an intelligence plus medicine test with a difficulty equal to the number of injuries the patient has, increasing the difficulty by +1. If you're trying to perform first aid on yourself, if you succeed, you can do one of the following. Stabilize a dying patient, heal health points equal to your medicine rating, treat 1 injury the patient is suffering from. Considering the hit points from what we've seen on the pre-gen characters, 10 and stuff like that, So if your medicine's 3, that's actually really good. Stabilizing the dying. Using the first aid action, you can attempt to stabilize a dying character. This requires an intelligence plus medicine test with difficulty equal to the number of injuries the patient has. Passing the test restores the character to 1 HP. They are no longer dying, and their player no longer has to attempt endurance plus survival tests to avoid death. The character remains unconscious and unable to take actions, which is fine. That makes sense. If radiation damage has reduced the maximum health points to 0, they cannot be stabilized until the maximum health points are above 0 by healing the radiation damage. So right away, other chems that you can use. If you stabilize the patient, you can spend AP to heal additional health points. You can heal 1 HP for every AP spent. You may also spend 1 AP after stabilizing a character to wake them from unconsciousness, allowing them to continue to act. Regaining health. You can use the first aid action to heal a character's health. Passing an intelligence plus medicine test will heal a number of HP equal to your rank. Yeah, this is all pretty standard. Oh god, treating an injury. Passing the test allows the patient to ignore the penalties of their injury. An injury treated using first aid is not fully healed. It's merely been patched up so that it no longer imposes a penalty. Whenever a character suffers any damage to a location which has a treated injury, roll 1 combat die. If you roll an effect, the damage has reopened the wound and the character is injured again. Completely recovering from an injury takes time. And yes, there are modified equipment rules. Beautiful! Healing robots! This is gonna make me cry, isn't it? Healing robots, I'm gonna cry so much. Robots and other machines cannot recover from injuries naturally, and they require maintenance to restore damage. Attempting the first aid action on a robot, a suit of power armor, or other large machine, like a vehicle, requires an intelligence plus repair test, with a difficulty of 2. This increases by +1 for each injury the machine has suffered. Passing the test restores health points equal to your repair rating. Treats an injury or stabilizes a dying machine. Machines cannot use chems, though a repair kit functions for machines as stimpaks do for living characters. Machines cannot heal through eating, drinking, rest, or medical attention. Outside of combat, an hour's work on a damaged machine restores HP equal to twice the repair's repair skill rating. I like that. Alright, so, using stimpaks. With the take chem action, you inject the stimpak and receive an instant result. Your character immediately recovers 4 HP or treats 1 injury. If the person injected was dying, then they stabilize immediately. With the first aid major action, you may administer a stimpak as part of the action. The patient regains 4 HP immediately in addition to any other effects. And any AP spent to heal additional health points heal twice as much. Oh, that's good. So you always want to have stimpaks. Always want to have stimpaks. Long-term recovery. Outside of combat, there are 3 ways a character can heal: rest, food, and drink. Rest is the easiest, but slow. If you can find somewhere to sleep for at least 6 hours, you regain all lost HP. Well, that's good. If you're able to get 8 hours of sleep somewhere safe and comfortable, your own bed in a settlement you belong to, for example, then you're considered well rested as well, and your maximum HP is increased by +2 until you next sleep. I love that. Hell yeah. One of the things I've really wanted to tinker with for Pathfinder 2nd Edition has been like additional rules for not necessarily meals, but the differences between the players resting in the wilderness and actually resting in a town. Because I hand wave a lot of that, because a lot of the adventure paths I'm currently running for Pathfinder 2nd Edition don't really involve a lot of like camping and exploration outside in the wilderness. Even Gatewalkers hand waves a lot of it. But in one where it's more of a thing, comfort, yeah. Which is very look, it's worse because the chapter they're coming up to in Gatewalkers, as written originally, it was just a long kind of plotting exploration thing. I've replaced it to kind of make it a little bit more entertaining. Like I've inserted a dungeon instead of like half the exploration. Don't tell them though. It's a secret. Shh. When you sleep, if you have any injuries treated otherwise, make an endurance plus survival test with a difficulty of 1. You'll be doing a lot of traveling. Yeah, look. I will say Stolen Fate has been very good for traveling around. Yeah, Stolen Fate also has a lot of like the fast travel stuff. But it makes sense for Stolen Fate. The complication range of this test increases by +1 for each injury that has been treated, not been treated. If you succeed, you may recover from one of those injuries plus an additional injury for every 2 AP spent. So if you have someone who's just really tanked up on the endurance, where's our like super mutant? Yeah. How's his survival? 3, and it's tagged. So our super mutant, who's just completely tanked up on endurance, would just completely steamroll for those checks and just recover instantly. It makes sense, but they misled us in the player guide, which defeats the purpose, which isn't the first time. Ah, look. This is one of the reasons why I should read through an entire AP before I decide to run it, so I can give my players proper... The player guides are usually fine, though. The difficulty of this test varies on how active you were during the preceding day. Restful, yeah. Recovering from rads. Because radiation damage reduces maximum health points, it doesn't heal in the same way that most damage does. The effects of radiation damage don't heal naturally at all. Radiation damage can only be removed by administering right away or other chems or consumables that remove radiation damage. When you heal HP and remove radiation damage at the same time, remove the radiation damage first and then resolve the HP recovery. That's really good. Because that's something that would come up. Chug almond milk. Just chug it all the day long. It's probably not going to be... Okay, food and drink. While proper nutrition isn't common in the Wasteland, a decent snack, a hearty meal, or a refreshing beverage, like Brahmin milk, is still a vital part of life and a valuable way to recover health. Food and drink cannot be consumed during combat. Some forms of food and drink are irradiated, especially if consumed raw. Roll 1 combat dice when consuming irradiated food or drink, and if you roll an effect, you suffer 1 radiation damage, ignoring any DR from equipment or armor. So, we had a Mr. Handy. There they are. Integral boiler mod. Once per scene, you can turn 2 dirty water into 1 purified water in 10 minutes. There you go. Oh, Marvin has a formal hat and a baseball bat. Medical attention. Yeah, that's fine. In combat, knowing where everyone is can be vital. Fallout, the role-playing game, uses a system of zones to divide up combat environments and measure movement and range quickly and easily. Each combat encounter happens in a single location. This may be a ruined building, a city street, an area of wilderness, or the floor of a vault. The location is divided into several zones based on the terrain features and natural divisions present in the area. For example, a vault may treat individual rooms and sections of corridor as separate zones, using the internal walls and doorways as dividing lines, while a city street may focus zones around features like burned out vehicles, the fronts of building, the alleyways, etc. Okay. Mapping your environment. Zones aren't fixed in size. Instead, they are as large or as small as they need to be to describe the terrain, and they can be varied to accommodate the spaces in the encounter's environment. For example, combat in a forest may be divided into many small zones amongst the trees and a couple of larger zones representing clearings. Larger zones for the clearings help convey quicker movement and easier target acquisition in open areas, while the smaller zones convey cramped conditions and short lines of sight. Okay, I get the logic there. It's a little bit of extra work for the GM and would take a little bit of getting used to. I would like to see what they would use for attack map to get a good idea of it. Under most circumstances, zones are easy to describe, a few seconds to narrate the spaces and their relative positions, or to sketch out a rough map with counters representing characters. Of course, this doesn't prevent your GM from coming up with elaborate environments if they want to spend more time mapping out their encounters. Hi, I'm the GM. I'm the one who does the elaborate environments. And by elaborate environments, I mean I grab a JPEG map and then fill it out accordingly. See, once again, that's just a cool splash picture. Distance and ranges. Movement and ranged attacks use descriptive terms to measure their distance in combat relative to the object's placement within zones. Range is measured in the following 5 categories. Reach is when an object or character is within an arm's length of your character. So, yeah, melee attacking. Close is within 0 zones, so you're in kind of the same area. So if you're shooting each other from across a room, medium, range of 1 zone. So if we're talking rooms and hallways, one person's in the hallway, one's in the room. Yeah, okay. Now I get it. When you move into a zone as a part of a movement action, you can move your character within reach of any object within that zone. Hey, Runiel! Congratulations on the AP earlier today. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the in Ashra's server or not. Also, fantastic way to end your character arc. That was the thing with the choker, amazing. Oh, speaking of. If anyone is in chat and they're looking for like information or want to see a cool VTuber who talks a lot about Galarian lore, or at least you can get them really easily on a tangent talking about Galarian lore, this should work. Beautiful. Check out Runia the Witch. Also on Blue Sky. I just don't have their Blue Sky link on hand. But Runia, if you want to drop your own link, go for it. Movement in zones. When you move into a zone within reach of any object, so when using the minor action to move into an adjacent zone, you can move to any point in that zone. Equally, when using the sprint action, you can move to any point within a zone that is 2 zones away. Tangents, I wonder how I can trigger those on Matt. It's fine. This could put you into reach of an enemy or an object you need to get to. Which is fine. So, I'm guessing... So for combats, particularly in Fallout, you'd want ways to... You'd want objects to interact with. Or it's really encouraging you to be able to interact with objects. Especially with how they do minor actions and things like that. Oh, this is the other half of it. Environmental conditions. Cover. Beautiful. Let's go. Cover provides additional damage resistance against physical and energy-based attacks. Objects in the environment will provide a certain amount of DR as a number of combat dice, depending on what they're made from and how resilient they are. When you are attacked by a physical or energy-based attack while behind cover, roll the number of combat dice listed in the cover values table and add that result to your DR for the attack. Cover values, where is that? All right, so wood gives you 1. Rubble, ruined brick walls, metal fencing, chest-high walls, concrete walls, steel barricades for free. Because your combat dice can come up with a result of 2. So that can provide you with a lot of cover. A lot of DR. Difficult terrain and obstacles. Difficult terrain describes any ground that requires more effort to cross, either because it hinders you or because you need to be careful where you step. A zone may be filled with difficult terrain, slowing anyone attempting to cross it. Obstacles are similar in that they hinder your movement, but they exist between zones. Attempts to move from one zone to another where an obstacle is present may slow your progress. Obstacles may be barriers you need to climb up or over, or they might be gaps that you need to jump past. When you attempt to move from an area of difficult terrain or cross an obstacle, you must spend 1 or more action points to do so, depending on how difficult the terrain or obstacle is. This is coming back to having more ways to generate your action points as needed. If you do not have sufficient action points available, then you need to find some way to generate them. The simplest way to do this is to take the rally major action, generating action points with difficulty 0, strength plus athletics test. Any successes become AP, which can be spent on moving through the terrain, which makes sense. For instance, I'm just imagining a situation where you're up at a cavern or a crevasse and you have to jump over the hole. You spend your major action rallying yourself, so kind of gearing your character up to do the jump, kind of breathing. Yeah, I can do this before doing the actual leap, spending the AP for it. Environmental conditions. Some conditions affect multiple zones or even the whole environment. Weather conditions and lighting are the most common examples of this. Poor lighting, darkness. Possession tests that rely on vision and all ranged attacks increasing in difficulty +1, +2, +3, depending on the light level. Mist and fog. Difficulty +1 when the target is at medium range or further. Rain. Yeah, that's all pretty standard. Rad storm. Any creature not in shelter suffers true radiation damage at the start of each turn. Oh god. See, I don't think it's going to have it in the quick start. And this has been a pretty thick quick start, I must say. But I'm guessing being in the glow sucks. Yeah, look. I'm guessing there'll be survival checks to find proper shelter and stuff like that, and to tell the weather. Hazards, dangerous objects. So we have environmental inflictions. I love that. Okay. Yeah. Look, anyone who has followed me for a while knows that I love environmental damage rules. So I'm going to get so much use out of this. Close proximity to radioactive waste or materials. 5 combat dice radiation damage. So if you roll really badly, that could be just 10 radiation damage straight up. Irradiated air, 2 piercing radiation damage. They're definitely driving home how bad radiation damage is. Like, you do not want it. Oh god, a bunch of red girls saying mine as they sit on a wall. It's fine, they're just trying to warn you of the mine you're about to step on. Turrets. Oh man. Thank you for the chat. Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it, Runia. Least I could do. I mean, that's it for the actual rules. I do want to check something. Is there any, like, do they have any maps or anything you can run from? Tectron, Act 2. Overseer note. And there's your Nuka-Cola ad. And I think this will be our pre-gen scare. Yeah. All right. See, I'm just thinking. Like, there was a lot of people who, because I keep my ear to the ground for like role-playing game stuff and what people's opinions of different systems are. And there were a lot of people who were saying that the Fallout system, like this system, was really complicated. It's no more complicated than a lot of other systems I know about. Like, in some instances, I would say that Pathfinder 2 is a little bit more complicated. Chat, I think I was lied to. I don't have the time in the week to run a Fallout game. I really do not. I do not. But I really want to. What I will probably do. You want to, but you do not. It's very much like that. Because I've promised a couple of people a Wilderfeast game. And I've already started writing up like the first couple of adventures for it. The campaign, the current storyline I have for it is about halfway done. And I haven't started customizing monsters or anything like that. But the Wilderfeast adventure is almost, like I said, it's like halfway written or something. I need to put more work into it. And Dwarf's TOV game. Yeah, but I don't have to do prep for that. See, that one's easy. Because we're currently going for a pre-written adventure for Tales of the Valiant with Dwarf. For those who aren't following him, there we go. He is my wonderful GM for Tales of the Valiant. We're currently going through the Spore Lord, not Spore Lord. No, it's something like that. We're going for a pre-written adventure anyway. We're having a lot of fun with it. It's kind of great. I'm enjoying it a lot. But we're kind of thinking of running a proper campaign in the future. We're not sure when that's going to happen, though. Because Dwarf wants to do a homebrew thing for it. And we're not sure what day we're going to do that for. Tuesday seems to be working pretty well for everyone. So that might be on a Tuesday. That will kind of leave a Friday. But the Friday, I've promised the Wilderfeast game, so I'll run that proper. And I want to keep, because I have a in-person game that I run in the flesh space. So on Thursdays, so I want to keep that open. I will probably continue doing tonight at the Obscura on a Thursday night, like once a fortnight or something like that. I feel like that's a good pace for what we're doing here. But once Wilderfeast is done, once that's done, definitely going to be looking at running some Fallout. I wonder if I could pick up maps for it. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I could run it. And I'll say again. Take that away. This Foundry implementation is just so perfect. If I can get a couple of maps to go along with the Quickstart adventure, then that's good to go. Though I am kind of curious, because we got a little bit of time still. I want to see NPCs and the pre-generated characters. That's fine. I want to see scavenging location. Hello. Hello. Roll tables. Oh, random encounter table for that. So, locations. I don't. I get the feeling this is probably covered in the core book. And when we're done here, I'm probably going to look it up. But this is, details, found items. So for when the players find things, roll tables. Oh. Large agriculture. Minimum 1, maximum 3. Yeah, no. Well, let's see what happens. We'll go beverages, hit locations, scavenge. Oh, fine. That. I don't think this is gonna work. Yeah, no, that didn't work. Oh no, we found junk. Okay. See, I'm gonna have to look into this more. What's the other one? I want to look at settlement. Scaver Lane. Okay. Nah, didn't think so. Crafting table defense. Materials required. Oh no! Oh no, this was made for me. Fuck. I'm sorry, chat. I'm gonna have to stop doing, like, going through these quick start guides. I'm wanting to run too many games, and I don't have time. I just don't have the time to run them all. Oh, but I could have so much fun with it. Just need to plan some time with the lemon kind. Because that's all settlers and jobs. Attack special ability, that's fine. Scaver Lane, you can just associate. Okay, now I need to check. Ah. All right, all right, all right. I can too. Oh no. So, what you could do, hear me out, is you could establish like a big area. I don't know. I need to figure out if I can do that. Two tester. Grid. X. Don't matter. Solid lines. Offset. Let's go. Yeah, so it still measures along the way. That's good. Because it came with the Kingmaker module. They can black out squares, like the grids, and as you explore, it reveals sections of the grid based on what's below. You could absolutely do that, and then just have like the settlements, and then combine it with the stairways mod. So the players could literally go to locations on the map and enter them. And depending on the settlement, you already have the NPCs ready to go. Oh no. There's a lot of options here. I would need to read through the rules for them a bit more. Oh, yes. Oh. Look, at the very least, I'm going to run a one-shot of Fallout for when the new season comes out. Because, you know, filthy capitalist, all the noise. But a longer campaign, I'm not sure. But I could do some funky shit with it. Depending on if I could get maps for it. Cause what? Okay. I'm sorry, Chad, you can't see it at the moment, but Drive-Thru RPG has a bunch of the Mephidius stuff. I just found out they have STLs available for sale. Oh, yeah, because they got the Tactics Warfare stuff. Why are we giving Mephidius more props for what they're doing? Because what? Miniatures? Ah. Wait, they have a community. Oh no, this is bad. Oh, that's right, they're doing Discworld as well. Oh no, chat. I didn't know this was available already. Sorry, give me a second. I just found a thing. This is going to be bad for me, but I think I know what Quickstart guide we're going through next. All right, that's going to take a minute to go through. Maniacal capitalist laughter. It would be interesting. But like I said, I have already promised I'm going to do a Wilderfeast campaign first. Wilderfeast campaigns go for about 6 months, depending on the pacing of what you do with it. Once that's done, then we'll have a look at doing a Fallout campaign. Because I'm liking what I'm seeing, and some of the things I can do within Foundry using the engine they have here is kind of cool. I can do something kind of sandboxy with it. If people have been watching Sandpoint, I can do something very similar to it, but on a kind of greater level. And if they have a community license, then that gives me further encouragement. But any questions about the Fallout Quickstart before we while this downloads, this thing that I have found downloads? Because I would just wholesale download a bunch of posters and things and have them as splash screens. That's easy done. You'd only need a few tac maps, depending on what's in the core book. Because I already have the core book. Too many options, chat. Just way too many. Not fair. Like, there is things I want to figure out. Like, can all players be part of the Brotherhood? Or can you just start them off in the Brotherhood? Oops, too much on the plate. Look, I wish I could... I have so much coming up recent. So much coming up. It's kind of crazy. Like Monday, 10:30 a.m., I have probably one of the most important meetings of my life, which could really kind of change how I do a lot of things for the better if it goes well. But I kind of don't want to jinx myself either. And just with all the campaigns, Gay Workers coming to a close, so we got to figure out what we're doing after that. Stolen Fate's going really well as well. I'm loving Sandpoint. Just thank you everyone for your support. It's really appreciated. I know this kind of thing isn't exactly the most stimulating viewing, but just having people showing up and chatting every now and again is just fantastic. Trestridge. That'd be a synth. See, I also, good dams need love, thank you. I kind of want to go through character creation and see how it goes. It's almost done. It's almost done. I'm just downloading thing, don't worry about it. It's fine. But yeah, look, Mophidius has put a lot of effort in. I'm kind of tempted to have a look at their Star Trek Adventures stuff now. See if the engine for that is just as good. I like it when a publisher supports the VTT side of things as well, because it shows that they have an understanding of where the industry is going. It's why I had so much annoyances with WotC for the longest time regarding VTTs and stuff like that. Because they had this opinion of, well, you have D&D Beyond, what more do you need, peasants? It's done. Oh no! Oh no. It's the full quick start, isn't it? So next time on Tonight at the Obscura, we're going to be going for Terry Pratchett's Discworld Adventures in Ankh-Morpork Quickstart. Because for those of you who aren't aware, I am an extremely huge fan of Discworld. People talk about books that changed their lives, books that kind of changed the entire direction of how they went in life. Discworld is that for me. Oh, they got Paul Kidby to do the internal artwork. Writing, Jack Caesar, Bryce Johnston. I'm looking for a very specific name, but I'm not seeing it. I kind of expected Rihanna to be the one who did the writing for it. But yeah, next time we're absolutely going for Discworld. I may lose it a lot. Do they have... Okay, so they do have an adventure review. All right. Oh. I mean, we gotta check something else now, don't we? We kind of do. It's not. They're not gonna have it. Game systems. I'm currently on Foundry. Bear with me. Oh no. Is this showing any information? No, it's not. I already have it installed. Okay, so I saw this before. We're gonna end on this, just so everyone's well aware, but I need to have a look now. I'm not expecting a clean integration of it. So many tests. Jeez, it's terrible. Okay, yeah, no, it's very bare bones. Compendium support? No compendiums. Okay. Okay, cool. I don't have to do this. Outcome Dynasty 4D6. Nope, we're stopping. We're going to stop there. Okay, this has been the Fallout RPG from Ophidius Entertainment. This has not been sponsored or anything like that. I've just wanted to check this out for the longest time. And it looks like a lot of fun. And the Foundry integration means I will probably be able to do a lot of interesting things with it. But with all that said, we're probably going to raid into the Dwarf Down Under, because I'm pretty sure he's still streaming. He's streaming Wukong, I think, at the moment. This rambling VOD is probably going to be going up on the YouTube in about 48 hours or something like that. Yeah, expect me to be talking more about Fallout in the future. Sorry, not sorry. I know a lot of people were kind of like, "Hey, Matt, are you gonna do it?" I think one of my Pathfinder 2 games are gonna have to take a backseat. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm already running 3 Pathfinder 2 games. One could be shifted into a different system. Unsure. We'll have a think about it. But Thank you for joining me all this evening. This has been Tonight to the Obscura, the Fallout Quickstart. I hope you have a good day, a good night, a good week, no matter where you are in the world. Be sure to let Dwarf know where you came from. I know he's going to get the raid invitation thing, but, you know, it's still funny. I still think it's funny anyway. But I hope you have a good day, a good night, a good week, no matter where you are in the world. And remember, as always, we are the storytellers. Good night, everyone.